What's going on, guys? Killer6, and today I'm bringing you my guide to beating the new raid boss in Borderlands 4, Bloomreaper. Whether you're a seasoned vet from way back on Borderlands 1 or this is your first ever Borderlands raid boss, I got you covered in this guide. Starting off, Bloomreaper is a free and permanent content drop for all players. To start fighting Bloomreaper, there will be a pop-up guide the first time you log in explaining how to find and start this mission, but long story short, go to any major hub area like Launchpad or Carcadia Bird and find the new bounty board by looking for a mission exclamation point on your map. In Carcadia, it's inside the building and to the back right. Click on the mission and accept and track it. You will need to have defeated the story, and then you can take on Bloomreaper without even enabling ultimate levels if you prefer, but more on that in a moment. Now, the fastest way to get to the Bloomreaper door is to travel to the low-rise safe house in Tonnage Peel and then jump the gap, grab your vehicle, and follow this path. Run past the enemies in this camp, jump over this fence, and down here is the door to the Bloom. Upon entering, I recommend you take your time and enjoy this map. It's really gorgeous and deserves to be admired. Also, make sure that when you pass this save station, you look for the K6 Easter egg on the wall. As for the mobbing in this map, it's fully optional, but I do recommend at least trying your build versus these vile enemies in the area as a sort of DPS check to make sure that you're ready for the boss himself. Now, before we dive into the mechanics of the fight, let me first recommend some gear to bring with you. These will be independent of any class or build. First, for shields, a good high capacity turtle shield will keep you alive, but the best in slot options are the What's for Dinner and the Super Soldier shields. Obviously, the Firework remains a solid choice for handling the mobbing in the area. The Pandoran Memento is a solid option since it gives resistance to the last damage type and 15% elemental resistance, plus any elemental resistance based on the shield's listed element, so go for Corrosive for this fight. For the rep kits, the two best options are the Triple Bypass and the Kill Spring. The Triple Bypass is generally the best in slot, but the Kill Spring is good here because on kill it gives 100% of any excess damage dealt to the target into 4 healing orbs. Those will heal not only you but your teammates, and if your health is already full, it will restore your shield instead. You can also use your rep kits to get your action skill back faster by either speccing into the specialization skill, now with caffeine, which is in the Daredevil section of the specialization tree. This basically gives you your action skill back near instantly after using the rep kit. Using the rep kit with acceleration cuts your action skill cooldown in half. Then whenever the timer jumps back up again like this, use it again to further drop that cooldown. For grenades, the purple Jacob's crit knife remains best in slot, giving you massive crit damage on enemies and usually having multiple charges. However, I really enjoyed the fire pot in this fight, as you can chuck it onto the platform that the Bloomreaper is on and then reload any gun that you're holding, and it'll trigger the stickies of the grenade to do some serious damage. For weapons, a lot, and I mean a lot, of the top finishers are using the bod, specifically a ceramic bod, which is a bod shotgun with a dataless SMG roll and Torg sticky roll, allowing you to shoot a ton of stickies onto enemies and then hit the enemy with a crit knife while reloading to trigger huge damage. However, I am also a huge fan of the Chuck assault rifle for this fight, especially if you can find any replicator rolled version. The ideal Chuck is homing replicator, which homes in on enemies and then splits into 2 chucks for extra damage, but if your aim is better than mine, which isn't saying much, any chuck should do. This is especially useful for the crystals phase at the start, but another popular choice for the crystals phase is the Dark Beast. This SMG just recently received boosts to its explosive damage, explosion chance, and general damage. It also pierces enemies to hit any enemies behind the first one, meaning if you line up the crystals, you can break 2 at the same time, speeding things up considerably. But be aware that you do want to get a Jacob's roll on this one to help with that damage. The Wombo combo is always a top choice versus vile enemies and crystals, and the Convergent shotgun is another solid option. Surely there's tons more, but those seem to be some of the more popular weapon picks right now. If you have some gear that you found to be more helpful, then share with everybody else in the comment section below. Now, on to the fight itself. The first time you enter the arena, you will head to the top platform to start the fight, but take a moment to familiarize yourself with the arena, the grapple points, the size and location of the various platforms. Note, you cannot cannot re-grapple the same grapple point twice in a row unless you land on a platform in between grapples. Once the fight begins, you need to do 3 things: bust the crystals, shoot the orbs that appear after busting the crystals, and also pay attention to the pulse waves on the ground to make sure you don't get blasted back off the platform. That last one is easy, just kind of keep a peripheral eye on the waves. He does this wave pulse 3 times, and then on the 4th one, just make sure you're in the air to avoid the massive knockback and damage. After breaking all the crystals and destroying the orbs, Bloomreaper will enter his first immune phase. At this point, cancel out your action skill if it's still going. Sorry, Amon mains, Gearbox didn't give you guys a way to cancel your action skill, and then jump down to one of the taller platforms to wait. Sadly, this first immune phase is about 20 seconds long and frankly kind of a huge waste of time. He will then cover the top platform in thorns, keeping you from landing up there again without taking massive damage, and then he becomes damageable again and will either jump down to the platform you're on or one of the ones on the opposite side. This is your time to use your action skill, grenades, ordnance, whatever you got that you can throw at him to take his health down to about 1/3 of a bar remaining. During this portion of the fight, it is important to not stay put on one spot and make sure you try and remain airborne as much as possible. This keeps all of his minions from hitting you and keeps you out of the area of effect damage pool that he spawns on his platform. He will also attack you with a purple eye beam, which will knock you back and deal serious damage, putting you at high risk of dying and then falling into the void. When he does this attack, I found it best to move left or right instead of up or down, as his tracking side to side seems slower and allows you to more easily dodge the attack. Use your dash at this point and go left or right, and that usually gets you out of this eye beam. If at any point you're falling off of a platform, just glide and look up to find a grapple spot. Your grapple has a much greater range in this zone. Once you have him at 1/3 of a health bar remaining, he will enter another immune phase that also lasts a ridiculously long amount of time. And again, cancel out any remaining action skill time that you have going, let your grenades and ordnance recharge, dodge enemies unless you need to trigger kill skills, and then get ready for one of the most annoying parts of the fight, the fog. At this point, he begins to fill the area with a haze. Make sure you track where the Bloomreaper is. The combat radar makes this a lot easier. You can enable this in options, gameplay, toggle radar display, and switch that to radar. Again, if possible, try to remain on a separate platform or hover above or near Bloomreaper. Obviously, use your grapple points to keep yourself from falling into the pit, and then deal your best damage. And if you did everything right, congrats, you defeated the raid boss. Ultimately, this is a pretty easy raid boss in the grand scheme of things within the Borderlands universe, but the timings, movement, and immune phases definitely lend to a lot of frustration with this fight. Now, for the rewards. First, the boss himself has 4 dedicated drops. The Mantra Malawan shotgun, which deals melee damage, the Jet Setter heavy ordnance launcher that seems to be a bit of a clone of the Globetrotter from Borderlands 3. He can also drop the Urchin Grenade ordnance, which is a really fun grenade mod, and the Under Shield, which is a Vladov shield, which seems heavily designed for mobbing. If you defeat the boss on Ultimate 1 or higher Ultimate levels, you will receive a chest room after going through the portal on the top platform. If you completed the boss within 1.5 minutes, you receive a platinum bonus chest with a guaranteed legendary sniper inside called the Rainmaker. Now, this chest is also an excellent source for legendary enhancements, which did not have a drop source previously, so definitely make sure you farm this for those. And it's also a great source for purple rarity shields, class mods, and enhancements, which are all also very much worth looking at in this game. The platinum reward also gives you 3 additional chests aside from just the platinum chest, and those chests will almost always have some of the new class mods inside of them. Plus, I've gotten a ton of other just random legendary items like chucks and bods and all kinds of other really good guns. Now, if you complete the boss within 3 minutes, you receive the gold level reward of 3 loot chests at the end, and not the platinum chest that always has the Rainmaker inside of it though. These chests very often have the new class mods for each class, but heavily weighted to mainly drop for the class that you're playing as. Finish before the timer hits 0 and you will receive the silver reward level of loot, which still gives you a chance at the legendary class mods, but 1 less loot chest than before. You can obviously just keep fighting the boss beyond the timer and defeat him as quick as you can, and much like in the base game, you do not need to play on Ultimate 5 or 6 to enjoy the platinum rewards. Me and a team of viewers did the raid a bunch of times the other day on Ultimate 1 just to speed through it. We got ourselves tons of loot, massive amounts of legendary enhancements, 2 god roll versions of the Raidmaker sniper in 2 different elements, and Shockwave even got the shiny mantra to drop from the boss. That said, beating Bloomreaper on Ultimate 5 will unlock Ultimate 6, and the only thing that's locked behind Ultimate 6 is the new firmware called Skillcraft. This firmware can then be farmed anywhere in the game as long as you have Ultimate 6 enabled. This firmware gives 10% skill damage on the first tier, then adds 10% skill critical damage at tier 2, and at tier 3 it adds dealing skill damage increases skill damage dealt by 2% for 10 seconds for a maximum of 25 stacks. That is 50% skill damage dealt plus the other 2 tier rolls on that, making this a very powerful firmware for action skill heavy builds. So again, don't feel locked into doing Bloomreaper at anything above Ultimate 1 for farming. Me and my crew got both of our god roll Rainmakers on Ultimate 1 for what it's worth. So that's my guide to Bloomreaper the Invincible in Borderlands 4. If this guide was helpful to you, then a like on this video would be appreciated. Feel free to share this video around to your friends that play Borderlands, and if you have any questions about this fight, drop them in the comment section down below. You can find my Rafa build and guide in the description below as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.